Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Let's give a warm welcome to a true trailblazer in the fields of leadership development and personal transformation. Julia Gold is a seasoned psychotherapist, executive coach, and visionary founder of Hopeful Blueberg Consulting LLC, with an expressive career spanning over 18 years. Julia specializes in guiding executives and entrepreneurs through some of their toughest challenges, from navigating toxic workplaces and overcoming imposter syndrome to breaking free from career stagnation. Her mission is clear: to empower high performance professionals to build unshakable confidence, cultivate thriving work cultures, and turn career paralysis into career success. Drawing on a powerful blend of academic expertise and real-world experience, Julia is a dynamic catalyst for change. She has transformed conflict-ridden organizations into cohesive, productive teams and helped countless leaders master strategies to achieve their dreams career. But Julia's work goes far beyond the boardroom. With a passion for adventure and a passport stamp from over 50 countries, she leveraged the transformative power of travel to elevate leadership skills and foster personal growth. Julia seamlessly blends leadership coaching with experimental adventures through her innovative programs, inspiring leaders to break through barriers and embrace new possibilities. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Julia Gold, a force of transformation, a champion of resilience, and the guide you need to turn challenges into triumphs.
Yes, thank you so much.
Julia, what was the most challenging limiting belief you had to overcome, and how did breaking free from it help you reclaim your voice?
My most challenging limiting belief was just thinking that I had to be stuck by what society told me I could do or what my career told me I could do at the time. Like I had to follow a specific path or I had to follow these really strict rules. And when I broke free of that, it opened up a whole new world because a lot of times those rules were created and a lot of times they're not really even helping anybody. So they're really just made up that we're told we have to follow.
Yes, can you share when someone's words or actions made you feel small and how you found the strength to rise above it?
Yeah, well, a lot of things that really affected me was about mid-career. I started a new journey, like traveling and doing a lot of crisis work. And so it's in healthcare. But then I saw that people were treating each other really badly, especially with toxic leadership. So I was told that everything I did was wrong. And eh, not just me, my coworkers, everybody was crying in the office. Meanwhile, we were in charge of multiple counties 24/7, like really doing groundbreaking work, saving lives even because sometimes people could unfortunately hurt themselves if they're in distress. So we were doing such amazing work, and everyone was really competent and passionate, and so that really changed me to see how they were treating us in a way that just was so harsh and cruel, especially because the work we were doing, we needed additional support, not to be told we're doing horrible or making stuff up. Like they would have a list of things that we were doing wrong, which never actually happened. So it was also making us question our reality in a way. So it was really damaging workplace.
And that must have been so hard to experience. But the way you rose above it is incredibly inspiring. Do you find that experience motivates you to lift others going through something similar?
Absolutely. So after seeing that and a few other experiences, I realized that I really wanted to focus more on leadership and lifting people up. And leadership can also be self-leadership as entrepreneurs, as even if you're an executive, like you have to decide, like you're the captain of your own ship. Like where are you going next in your career? People aren't going to look out for you unless you have like a mentor or a coach. So you really need to make sure like what's happening next. So as either a self-leader or a leader of others, how do we lead? That's really important. And so I'm putting my energy and work into making sure we have outstanding leaders in the workplace and also for ourselves with all the entrepreneurs that are out there doing amazing work. And like I said, it opened up a whole new world for me. And I'm actually really grateful. At the time, it was really stressful and upsetting and really scary because I was in a very remote area without other jobs and I didn't know many people. And so at the time it was like, wow, if I lose this job, like, what do I do next? But now I'm grateful for it because I probably wouldn't have stepped into this leadership role and helping leaders and companies. I probably would have just continued doing direct care, which I still love and I still do a little bit of, but it's not something I focus on. Like, that's not my main hours that I spend in my day. I'm not doing that anymore. I do a little bit, but I spend most of my time doing business consulting and executive coaching.
Wow. What safety resources, spaces, or tools have most impacted your healing journey?
Yeah, so I think the resources that really helped is just, I actually decided to kind of create my own resource of women in business and entrepreneurs that can help when somebody else is struggling. So just kind of creating our own networks and being part of masterminds. And then I decided, hey, a lot of people have also struggled through this. And also they're in a place where they might need to hire or they might have some insight or wisdom that would be helpful. So just creating that supportive network, because like I said, I didn't have it and a lot of my coworkers didn't have it. So I think that resource is helpful for me, reaching out to either groups that I'm part of or just that network of people that are willing to be there for other women. I don't only work with women, but it is mostly I do. And so I wanted to make sure we had that resource for ourselves. These are people that are successful in a position to help. And that sometimes is hard to come by. And it's really great to have in your pocket.
Definitely. What was your first step from feeling silence to finding your voice, and how did that change your life?
Yeah. So when I was in those situations, when I was told things that made no sense, or I was told like I was doing a horrible job, or that people were complaining about me, even though that actually never happened, which was the most interesting part. It's like, I was like, when did this happen? Where did this come from? And they're like, oh, we don't know. And I followed up on it and I was like, let me do some research. I'm good at research. So I was like, okay, who made these phone calls? Who called in? And I was told that actually did not occur, that it was never said. So I presented that evidence. And so it was just, once again, people can say whatever they want about you, but I think you really need to have a strong sense of self. And so, though I was feeling silenced in a way because I couldn't speak my truth except to my team, who were really great. But eventually I was like, this is just really ridiculous and it makes no sense. So what's next for me? And luckily I ended up being in a position where I was like, okay, I'm done with this job. So I'm free in a way. And I ended up traveling for several months and it was great. And then I ended up speaking up about it because it was really stressful, and even traumatic to some degree, because you're told something that's not really happening. And you're also told negative things. And I always thought I was so great that I was mid career, because if I was in the beginning of my career, that would have been devastating because I wouldn't have had other feedback. Luckily, I had enough feedback and training up to that point that I was like, this doesn't make sense because I've never gotten this feedback before. But anyway, once I started speaking up about it in business groups and podcasts, I realized I want this experience to help others in some way. And I had this lofty goal of changing the world of work, just because it's really not functional right now in a lot of ways. And our systems are not doing well for the individual. So I decided to do that and to use those experiences, and I'm still using it. And I had quite a few of them, and I had other ones too that were really, really out there experiences. And sometimes I'll share them just because I think it's important for others to see, no matter what people do or say. First of all, none of it is too outlandish. It can happen. Like, people can say or do anything. In the workplace, you are not protected. So it can happen. And then you want to make sure you get support. And then when I started talking to other women who were in similar situations, different but similar, I saw how important it was to be that support, because they were experiencing in that moment, they were being silenced, being told they weren't good enough, being told they can't do this or that, or they shouldn't be seen or heard, or they need to be quiet, or you have an attitude, which is my favorite one because it's used so often. an attitude just really means you know what you're talking about and you are sharing your insight, which you're usually hired to share, but they're gaslighting you into thinking there's something wrong with you doing your job. So that is a really great example. And I want to keep sharing that, because if you hear that, it's not you, it's a signal, is probably a toxic work situation.
Definitely. What's one powerful lesson you've learned about self-worth, and how do you carry it with you as you continue to grow and inspire others?
Yeah, self-worth is such an
Yes.
interesting concept too, because we have self-esteem of how you think about yourself, how you hold yourself, what you expect, how you expect others to treat you. And I think for me, I really love seeing the impact I have on others. So when I do retreats as well. We do adventure travel retreats, and we have these intense emotions when we're doing these activities that could be scary at the time, and how we come together and support each other, and then being told how that transformed their life. Um, Even though I'm focusing on career, that changes your personal life too, because you can set boundaries. You're more fearless because you know how to deal with fear. You know what to ask for, because I do a lot of blueprints, like where do we go from here in the career. So I seeing people transform from like some people call me in tears, crying, sobbing in a closet, and some people are shaking and terrified. And to see from there to saying, this is what I want, going into a boardroom and demanding a certain title and salary, or starting your own company and just doing something amazing, like that to me, like that's what I want to be doing. So that's that connection for me. And I just love seeing people fly, even whatever nugget they took from me, or whatever time we spent together, to see them create their own. Like, even it might have nothing to do with what I said, but they're creating their own. That makes me happy.
If you could tell your 17-year-old self one thing, what would it be and why?
That's a good one. I would say to take that shot. Basically, if there is an opportunity in front of you, I would say to take it, even if you're afraid or apprehensive, or even because that's usually a signal we need to take this opportunity. And also just to share my voice more. When I was really young, I never spoke. I was very shy and quiet, and I would just did my work and kept my head down. So I rarely ever spoke up. And I actually would never have imagined being on camera, being on shows, being on podcasts, being in front of, these events and being a speaker. I would never have imagined that. So I'm in a very different place. But yeah, I think that's what I would start with, of just kind of slowly increasing confidence, and maybe also having more supportive people around me so I could slowly build that confidence.
Definitely. If I was bullied when I was in school, and I hated speeches. I hated when we needed speech and talk in front of the whole class. I would froze. And then when the children would start laughing at me, and I had to go during lunchtime to do my speech because I couldn't speak. And now looking back, we are doing all these amazing things, and we weren't the speakers. We were the ones that were silent. So that's really amazing. I think our 17-year-olds would be proud of us for that, what we are doing, and for speaking up, coming from a place where we didn't speak up. So I'm very proud of you for speaking up. That's just amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's actually a great example too of trying to squash our voice and not being. I did also have a lot of very severe bullying experiences. And that was an example of just trying to have power over you in a negative way and trying to close you down. And it is really interesting that it's kind of transformed into the opposite, because now, because I know, let's say if we put ourselves, if we met our 17-year-old self, they would probably be like, wow, this is amazing. And we could be such a powerful mentor to them. So I think that's amazing to see those two probably extremes, like such very different places.
Well, I think if we could combine a photo of them and us now and just hugging each other, I think that would be amazing. Um,
Yeah.
how do you set boundaries to protect your energy and peace? And what have you learned from this practice?
Yeah, so that's a really important practice, even when I was doing therapy, because I worked with a lot of trauma, just to know to be able to leave it at the door, to know that I've done everything I can, no matter how difficult the situation, and to be able to leave that at the door. Even though some jobs were like on call, but generally like keep focused. Now I'm really careful with who I work with. I want to make sure their energy is right, that they're willing to lean in and do what it is that they say that they want to do. I want to make sure like we're together on this, we're aligned. And I realized even like today, I had a kind of an upsetting conversation with somebody who was trying to bully me in a way into accepting their loan or something they were doing. And I'm like, I'm not interested in that. And they were very like degrading and bullying and gaslighting. And I'm just like, that's actually not true. And so being able to just be clear and cut off situations that don't serve you, and just realize not everyone's in a good place. And so you want to make sure that you have people that support you that are in the same positive sphere. Not that you can't talk about tough things, but that they're in a constructive, positive way for you. And if other people are coming from a negative way, in a negative way, they're wanting to, like, they're not coming in good faith in some way, it's okay to end that conversation or to walk away. And also limiting how many people I work with too. I used to work in community care. There, I don't know how many people, I probably saw at least 50 people a day, but realizing like, how many people do I want to see? And that's also what I coach on too, of like just intentionally deciding, what does your day look like? How many people do you want to see? And just like what fills your cup versus what drains you. It's really, really important. Not that you can't, jump in and grind when you have to, but you have to have options. Choices are so important. If you know that you have choices, that creates a really kind of a positive positive boundaries. You feel good about yourself versus, I have no choice. I have to work this day and the next day and the next day, and I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, and it's also degrading and negative and toxic. So it's like that's a whole other experience, right? Versus saying, I'm choosing to do this. This feels good for me. I'm causing change in the world in the way that I want to. So yeah, that's just crucial. Nothing is more important than that.
How do you stay grounded when challenges comes up now compared to before?
Yeah, well, like I said before, I think I didn't have enough support. So when there were challenges, I actually did try to talk it out with the people directly. But if that didn't work or it just became really unhealthy, I also think there weren't as many options in the past. Though I did reach a point, one of the jobs that I had, that I did just walk away because it was just really like very unhealthy like I've never done that. But if someone is saying things that are that outlandish, you're like, okay, there's no point in me being here, because I was here for a specific job. So yeah, in the past, I think it would be more of, I'll just figure it out somehow. And now it is like knowing, having a community behind you, having support, and also just having different options. Like you don't have to jump into a job. You could if you wanted to, or contract. You can create your own service. You could do whatever it is. Like, what's your next step? What do you want to do? And being more intentional with it, and knowing you're creating something that's giving positivity to the world, giving excellence, leadership, all that stuff. Like you want to see, and that grows on each other, because when the leaders are healthy, they're bringing up people that are healthy as well. And the whole area and everybody you serve, it's like a ripple effect. We use this kind of a circle with the lines in between, of seeing how everything you do affects the other. So yeah, so now I feel like I have more ability to lean into myself and know that I could figure it out in more than one way, versus I think before I thought there was only one path, like just continue working or find somewhere else. And I probably wasn't expecting much from that other job either, right? You try to hope to find something else that's not horrible, but I don't think I was expecting something really amazing, right? So I think it's kind of a different lane there, where now I am expecting that. Like I expect a lot with people that I work with, for who work for me, like at whatever level, like I'm expecting a lot. I'm expecting courtesy, obviously, and positivity, but in a healthy way. And if there's a problem, that you could talk it through without being mean, degrading, passive aggressive, all those unhealthy communication habits. So, so yeah, I guess expect people to be in a certain place and have those soft skills as well. And the other skills, a lot of that can be, it's really training. Things are not going to be exactly the same. And I really would prefer someone that is a bit able to adapt versus is just following a script for everything that they do.
I think it's also just showing up authentically. If if you are open to growth and open to put your ego aside for a while and be open to learn new things and say, okay, but this doesn't work or this doesn't, but at least I've tried it. I think that's also the people that I like to work with, is people that will are ready to say, okay, I don't know it all. I'm gonna try new things. If I don't like it, that's okay, but just showing up authentically and not try to fit in, because I don't know, there's so many people out there that really try to fit in, but if they know their value and their worth and they can see how perfectly authentically they are made, oh, amazing things happen.
Yeah, that emotional safety is so important because then you can grow and even go past what your potential is because you have that support and you know people are on your side versus like being in survival mode or being defensive all the time. And just being able to talk, like if someone brings up a concern, if you have that healthy emotional intelligence or stability, you're able to say, okay, let me listen to what you're saying, versus being defensive or angry. Like that's a huge indicator that you're not where you need to be to have a conversation.
Mhm. How do you define thriving today, and what mindset shifts or practices help you embrace that definition?
Yeah, so thriving today is just like I said, giving back to the world and doing what I know is my purpose, which is seeing people thrive and just kind of doing amazing things in their career, which affects all areas of their life. And also just helping leadership groups. I work with companies to see them transform some of their practices. I guess I just love that shift of doing something amazing and knowing that it's going to be helpful. And some of the practices too, I really enjoy the gratitude practice of really centering mindfulness first, like doing the senses, really kind of connecting with where you are and what you're doing. I love the outdoors and travel, like I said. So that's actually part of what grounds me of when I'm in the moment doing an activity. You can't really be thinking about anything else because the activity is usually pretty intense. Like you have to be physically in the moment. It's kind of like a survival mechanism. And that actually helped me in the past when I was going through some medical issues. And so I use this technique because I love it. You have to be in the moment doing something and your adrenaline's going and people are around you and it's awesome. So that mindfulness piece, and you can also do that in a calm setting, being mindful and then being grateful. And gratefulness for me sometimes is really simple. If I don't have any pain in the day, I'm grateful. If I can breathe calmly, I'm grateful. If I can feel my body in the touch, I'm grateful. So I ask for, might not seem like a lot, but because of some health issues I've had, those were difficult for me. So I just start there. And then if I'm outside, if I'm having fun, I love working out. I do a lot of exercising, like that also grounds me. So just knowing like what practices do you need for yourself and doing those things, that really makes me thrive, makes me happy. And then I go from there to the intellectual side, learning something new, jumping into, um, you know, challenges that people are having, either their businesses or themselves. And then, yeah, just like working it through. That's also fun in a different way.
The last question. What made you decide to be featured on Speak Up Queen? And how does it feel knowing that there's a safe space for women to share their stories and inspire others?
Yeah, I just love when I see something that is a really strong connection with what I'm doing and what I bring to the world and just contributing in some small part to it really just makes me happy and always makes me want to be part of it. I think when I first saw your message about inviting people on to speak, I was like, this seems really aligned because speaking up is really, like we talked about, is really important, especially when you've been in situations where you were told not to, or you were made to feel like there's something wrong with you, which usually means the opposite. It's nothing wrong with you. And so just being aligned with that message, and then sharing has just been great, because it keeps reminding me of why I'm doing this, and that some people are still in a situation where they're in a very tough spot. And I want to make sure that this message can reach them, either from me or any of the other women you've had, or just, the bigger you grow, the more it'll reach people and the more influence you have. But like I said, I like that community piece where everyone grows on each other, right? And so kind of this definition of success is basically everybody jumping together, going up and up and up, and then reaching more and more people until, you know, until there's nobody left that is kind of feeling shut down or upset, where everybody is speaking their truth in a positive way. And then we kind of create that community, kind of community change in our society. And it's still really, really needed. I feel like there's pockets where it's going well, but there's just so many areas where it's really still needed. So yeah, I always want to be part of any movement that does that.
Well, thank you so much, Julia, for sharing your powerful and inspiring story today. Your journey reminds us of the strength and courage it takes to heal, grow, and thrive. To everyone tuning in, remember your voice and your story have the power to inspire and create change. If today's episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share it with someone who needs this message. Until next time, Queens, keep speaking up and embracing your power.